I'm Scott Brusaw. We're sitting in the electronics lab of Solar Roadways here in Sagal, Idaho. I'm going to show you a PowerPoint presentation we finished about an hour ago. So you're going to be our guinea pigs. You got thousands and thousands of miles of unused, these roads are collecting heat anyways. This thing collects the power and it stores it. There's 25,000 square miles roughly as of 2003 in the lower 48 states. If we covered that with solar panels, just a 15% efficiency, we produce more electricity than this country uses, and 3 times more electricity than we use on an annual basis. And that's almost enough to power the entire world. The history of the solar roadways, you had asked me about what I'm doing in Idaho. It actually goes back to 1961 when I met my wife. And we were 3 and 4 years old at the time. When we were kids, we had slot cars, HO track cars. And I always thought it'd be neat as a kid to have electrified roads. So then kids can drive on if you have a slot. That was my brilliant idea back when I was probably 6. Years later, we got married and we kept hearing about global warming. Never paid a whole lot of attention to it. I just kind of registered in the back and I kept thinking, somebody's going to fix this. Why isn't anybody fixing it? I'm not hearing any solutions at all. So we started looking into it. We got Al Gore's movie, the book. And Julie asked me once, she says, can't you take your electric roads and make them out of solar panels? And at first I laughed. I said, you can't drive on a solar panel. But then I started thinking about it. So you could build a frame, the solar panel would fit inside and drive on it. So I started checking into it. That's how we got where we're at today. It's actually a 32 by 32 array of solar cans, something about the size of a Campbell soup can. And inside here is your solar collector, your LEDs, yellow and white LEDs to paint the lines from beneath, and your electronics. And your storage, a storage capacitor to store the power. Now what this road does, what you saw there, is it lights it up from underneath like a runway. There's no guessing where that shoulder is. You're right, it's like playing a video game, you're driving right down the center. I went to the University of Dayton where I received a master's degree in electrical engineering, and they sent me the quarterly alumni newspaper and said they are now the number 3 materials research lab in the nation. So this past February I went back and talked to them about the top layer, which would have to be glass. They said, yeah, they can make that. They said it might take years, might take millions of dollars, but you can make anything out of glass. And I gave them the specs. I said, we got to have, it's got to have the same traction as asphalt, has to be strong enough to support a fully loaded semi-truck, locking them up at 80 miles an hour, has to be shatterproof, fireproof, transparent enough to allow the sunlight through, but not to allow the glare back into the driver's eyes. I gave them all these specs. They didn't even bat an eye. I said, yeah, we can do that. This is an older drawing showing how the electricity and the phone and everything runs actually through the road panels. You can power your street lamps, your street lights, everything from the road itself. Your whole road is an electric grid. It replaces all your power poles. So we've got an aging infrastructure right now. I heard where the average poles out there are about 42 years old. They're not supposed to last that long. So we've got to redo all that anyways. So along comes the solar road where you're connecting these things together and it becomes your grid. It delivers the power right to your front door along with cable TV, high-speed internet access, your telephone, everything right there. This is a bird's eye view where you've got a restaurant here and a grocery store. Their parking lots would provide their power along with the whole solar grid. Homes the same way are connected by their driveways. We looked up on the internet how much an asphalt road costs. And our best number we came up with was $16 a square foot. And that's based on a road that's designed to last 7 years. So if we can make road panels last 21 years, and there's nothing in it that can't last that long, then we can multiply that $16 a square foot by 3, come in at $48 a square foot, and still break even. Now that doesn't include what the electricity you get back out of it. Based on that, a solar road panel, my target price is about $10,000 a panel. The technology behind it has already been done to death. I'm just taking a lot of different technologies, making something new out of it. It's not space age stuff. It really isn't, except for that glass sheet that hasn't been made yet. But they tell me it's not a problem. The problem is going to be getting the Department of Transportation, the Department of Energy, the Department of Homeland Security, all these departments to agree to change their specs and their regulations and work together. Because now who's going to be in control of the road now? Who's going to charge the electricity? Who's going to manufacture it? Who's going to install it? All that has to be changed. We're going to get rid of nuclear power plants. We're going to get rid of coal-fired power plants. And all the money, this thing's cost $1 billion a piece to build, all of that can be rolled back into the solar roadway system. Yeah. Then you take into account all the electricity you're going to generate. Now you can start, that 10,000 can start climbing up, and you're still going to break even. You won't get the full gist of this thing until you're driving tomorrow or the next day, and then you're going to start emailing me questions the way it usually works. Because you're like, hey, what happens if we do this? And people, it snowballs. People come up with more ideas. And
so I worry about hacking the roads. I mean, because if I was a hacker, and you could hack the entire nation's roads, that would be a huge incentive. I would have a field day with that.
Yeah.
I would try every day of my life to try to hack the roads.
You really are a hacker, aren't you?
No, I'm not.
Mark is a hacker for good. Mark's totally invisible right now, actually. He's like in the dark reaches of the car.